I have with me today the Uniden BC125AT. For those of you in the UK, it would be the U125 XLT, I think, but it's the same, as far as I know. I think it's the same exact radio, but probably with the frequencies that are used over in Europe. But I want to talk about how to use this scanner to make it useful right out of the box, and kind of help you with the learning curve. And let's turn it on and we'll get going here. Press the button, hold for 1 or 2 seconds, and then it will start the boot up process. I booted mine up with the backlight on, but the start button here, or the power button, a click will turn that backlight. A good press will turn the backlight off, and then another press will turn it back on again. A little different than powering up, where you have to hold the power button for a couple seconds. Your model, if you just got it, you're a beginner, you don't know anything. If you're like me, I don't know much about the radio hobby. It's new to me. I have reasons for getting into it, which I'm going to talk about. But this whole Uniden box, I was so excited about getting this radio, the scanner, and started to watch as many YouTube videos to learn about it as possible. And I got to tell you, I got hours of time looking at videos, and for each hour I spent, I only get a few moments of information. It's very frustrating. My hope for you as a beginner and me as a beginner to relay my knowledge, my beginning knowledge, to you quickly. If you're like me, this is a $100 investment, somewhere in that range, a little more, a little less, depending on what sale you got, and you want to make sure you got something for it. And the first thing you can do is the function button makes the orange parts of the keypad function. And so if you hit function WX, it gets you into the weather menu, and just by this scroll button up here scrolls you up and down menus. It's kind of like a mouse on the laptop. You have a scroll and you have a click, and a click selects. There you have it. You click it again and you can up the volume. And I was getting very good weather reports, very clear in this room. Of course, when you do a video, things get a little gurgly because that's the nature of, you know, Murphy's Law. But anyway, the scanning the weather immediately, now you know how to do something. If nothing else, you can throw this in your drawer. 3 months from now, a storm comes through and you say, oh, I got a scanner and I know how to use it. It's as simple as I just press scan to get out of that mode, and function scan will get you back into the weather scan, and now you know how to use it. There is ways to get back out of menus. Let's say I don't want to listen to the weather right now. You can kind of go back into function weather to get back in the menu and back out, but it's only going to put you right back into the same place that you last left off. I kind of use the scan button over here as a get out of jail free card. And it'll take me to this all lock menu so we can talk and breathe for a minute without some background noise. But here you are, you know immediately how to use this scanner. So now that you maybe you have a little sigh of relief, you can do something with it. Let's talk a little bit about what we can do with it. And before we do, I want to mention some things that occurred to me that are metaphorical, that will help you understand the mystery of what this scanner can do. If nothing else, it scans thousands of frequencies. So the metaphor is, I liken it to a phone book. Now, I live in Florida now, but I grew up outside of New York City. And when I was a kid, our phone book was like 4 inches thick. There was thousands or hundreds of thousands of phone numbers in that thing. And this radio scanner is analog. So it is like going back in time. And it holds the power to scan and search through not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of frequencies. And I don't even know what I do know what a frequency is because I spent a lot of time learning about it, but I didn't really understand the frequencies as far as radio frequencies go, RF. What are they? What does what? You don't really have to know all that stuff. You will begin to learn it as you get used to this radio. But by likening it to a phone book, it's like getting a phone book with thousands of phone numbers. But the phone numbers is all you get. You don't get the people's names. For the most part, you don't get anybody's names. You just got phone numbers. And that's what the scanner has out of the box. If you hit the search key, it'll start searching the phone book from the very beginning with nobody's names, just the phone numbers going through listening. It's not the most useful thing. It's useful for somebody who knows frequencies and an advanced, radio hobbyist, but me, I don't know. So the search key it's not useless. It's very useful for those who know, but for me is the most or the least helpful key is that search key. So now, if we think back to the liking it to a phone book, most of us don't grab our phone book and start searching for the numbers of people we know. We only use it for those times we want to search for somebody else, like a mechanic or a restaurant or somebody we don't have. But most of the time, we have our favorite people in our own address book. And that's what the scan button does. It is access to looking through your address books. Where the search button, it just starts at the beginning of the phone book and starts going through page 1 right to the end. It's tedious, it's mysterious, it's unhelpful in most cases. But the scan button is what is most useful because it will scan through your own address books that you built. Now, when you first turn it on, it's a scan all locked because there's nothing in the address books. It doesn't mean there's something locked out that you can't access. You can easily access your address books by going into them and start building and putting addresses in there. But before we get into that, the first thing you did was access the weather address book, where it has all of the numbers, not phone numbers, but frequencies of the weather channels in your local area, and it starts scanning for those. And then we'll pick them up. So that was the first address book function, weather scan, and it'll start scanning for the weather channel. Obviously, in my house right now, in my room, my antenna is not picking up the weather channel. It normally does, but right now it's not. Because I don't have anything in my address book, I can hit scan as a quick get out. And that's a little cheat, a little tip maybe to get out of that. But there are built-in addresses. And that's what's nice, because it has the ability to scan the frequencies for the police. So if you got this because you wanted a police scanner, you access the police address book. How about fire and emergency? You can access the fire and emergency book. Here's how we do it. Instead of using the search to search the whole phone book, we're going to use the search to search the address books. So you're going to hit function, service search. And I'm going to show you service search in a sense with nothing to search. And the reason why is when you first turn it on and put service search, it has all of the search banks in there, all the search address books for our metaphor. Search 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. 10 address books of predetermined frequencies that make it easier for you to search. But who wants to search out 10 books? Who wants to get out 10 address books? You only want the address book that has the restaurants or the fire department or the police department. I got this radio. I put it in my wish list because I am a train fan, a rail fan, a train hobbyist, and so I want something to scan when they're talking over, the engineers are talking to the brakemen and out in the yard switching trains. I wanted the radio to scan that. That's all I wanted from this radio. And but I also got into NASCAR, so maybe some of you got this because you want the NASCAR address book built in where you don't have to look anything up and see it. So let's go through and see what I'm talking about. When you're in any of the search functions or where it's scanning or waiting to be scanned, you can push a key like key 1 and it'll open up that address book. And so 1 is the police. So now it's scanning to see if there's any police. Now I got to tell you, and then if you find something, you can put it on hold. And if the hold gives you nothing but static and you don't want it to keep scanning that frequency of 470.3125, you want it to move on, you can lock it out by hitting this button that says LO, and it will temporarily lock it out. And so you should be able to begin scanning again, taking it off hold. And now it's picked up another something or other, and you can move on. So number 1 is police. If you start pushing, when you're on hold, anytime you're on hold and you start pushing buttons, it allows you to put in your own address. But the double clear right here, push it twice and it will clear it out. And push the scan button as you get out of jail free card and it takes you back out again. But let's go back into it. Since I left it in the police mode, function service search, it'll automatically go to police, because if that's what you want, maybe the only thing you want, it'll always go there. I don't want police, so I'm going to turn it off. Anytime it's in scanning, you can push the key. Number 1 is police, turn it off. Number 2 is fire and emergency, it's scanning fire and emergency, turn it off. Number 3 is ham radio. Alright, you want to scan ham radio? You can scan ham radio and to find something you turn it off. These are all the address books that are built in. Marine, I'm not anywhere, well, I'm a few miles from the water, but another thing that I like to do is when I'm boating, be able to scan the marine channel. And of course, if we were anywhere near the water, I'm about 5 miles right now, it would pick up marine channels. So maybe some of you would love to have that, so we'll turn that one off. Another one is civil air. So if you're near airport, you can scan and see what they're talking about. Aren't these wonderful? Now you know how to access access the address books and make this scanner useful. 5, press 5, that's the railroad. That's the one that I may be using when I'm out doing my railroad thing. I'll turn it off. Now you could leave these all on. See how I just press them to turn them on? And now I got 5 of them on. So that's the way it comes. It comes with all 10 of them on. But I don't want all 10 of them on because who wants, unless you're at home and you just want to scan all of them, I find it highly useful to turn them all off except for the one that you want. 6 is civil air. The little manual tells you these too. 7 is military air. So now it's searching through and didn't find anything military. He's going back to civil. Turn the civil off. Turn the military off. 8 is CB radio. this is interesting. You can listen to CB. And 9 is FRS. Now let me turn off CB for a minute and just go with this one. Remember, click and you can turn volume down. FRS, GMRS, MURS. Those are your walkie-talkies. So if you don't know about those, FRS is your family radio system. Those are the walkie-talkies you buy at Walmart for $20, $30, and the kids run around and they can use them. They have very low distance reach. If you a half mile to maybe a mile, they'll advertise 25 miles. That advertisement is if you happen to be on that lucky day of the year where everything's perfect and all the stars line up and you're on top of a mountain and you can see directly 20 miles below you into a valley, it might maybe be able to connect. That's like once in a lifetime something like that happens, and any ham radio operator says that it would tell you it happens to them because, you know, they're out there on their radios all the time, but they're usually on the ham frequencies, not the FRS. GMRS is also a walkie-talkie, and the difference is the FRS walkie-talkies are manufactured where you can into a low wattage, and they have you know, they can't reach that far of distance because they're manufactured to be low wattage, and they also have built-in antennas that you can't change. GMRS, I think you can change out the antennas, and they come a little bit more powerful. They can go from 2 or 3 watts to maybe 5 watts. Some of the more experts I've listened to said that the difference between 3 watts and 5 watts isn't that fast that you're going to notice that much of a difference. But, you know, maybe on some of the right days the GMRS could be a bit more powerful. But I think the difference between a $30 walkie-talkie FRS or GMRS and $50 one and $170 or $150 to $200 one is the quality of not so much the electronics, but the quality of the antenna and the you know, it's the clarity of its speaker, its microphone, and its speaker clarity. So if you really want a good walkie-talkie and understand that it's only going to get you a mile, maybe 2 at the most, FRMS, GMRS in the $150 to $200 range is the kind of the best you can do. But a $30 to $50 FRS walkie-talkie will do you fine too, but it's going to not have as great of an antenna and may not be clear. So when you look in the shop for those, you're going to look for those that have a better quality of sound. And hey, look at that, we picked up somebody for a moment. MERS. Before I get into MERS, I want to talk FRS and GMRS. They both share the same 22 channels. Sometimes advertisement talks about sub-channels. Those are not additional channels. It's a misnomer. It means that you can protect your particular channel you're on from other people interrupting. Sometimes they call them privacy channels. It's nothing is private. Anything that's transmitted over the air can be picked up by anybody else. But a privacy channel is handy in the fact that it sends out how do you say it? Unaudible, where you can't hear. It sends out tones that you cannot hear, but the radio can hear. And if the radio doesn't hear that tone, it doesn't let you hear what's being transmitted. This is nice because if you're on a particular channel, of the 22 channels, you're on a particular channel talking to a friend or a spouse or whatever, you won't be interrupted by somebody else on that channel that doesn't have that tone. they don't know the tone, they won't be able to put it in. If they just happen to be on the same tone, then maybe switch a channel, and it's probably unlikely they'll have the same tone again. That is the beauty of the so-called sub-channels or the privacy channels. You don't have a private conversation. That's a misnomer. But your conversation won't be interrupted with somebody transmitting over top of it. And that's what is nice about those additional so-called sub-channels, or sometimes called, well, I forgot what they're called. CTS or CC, I forgot what the acronym for it, but the tones. MERS. Oh, well, before I talk about MERS, once again, on the FRS and GMRS, they have the same exact 22 channels. Those are fixed channels. In other words, these particular, if we're talking back like phone book, these particular frequencies like phone numbers, they're not unknown phone numbers. They each frequency has attached to it an identified channel number that's not changed. So if I'm on channel 1 and I want to speak to my spouse on channel 1, great. If somebody else comes in and says I want to be part of that, all they have to do is turn to channel 1 and you all can hear and talk to each other, if indeed you're all on the same tone. Or you can elect not to have a tone and it's open for everybody. There's no difference between FRS and GMRS concerning that. It's the same 22 channels. And those same 22 channels identify to the same frequencies. MERS is a different set of frequencies. It's on a different range. I think FRS and GMRS, those 22 channels, those frequencies are, I think, in a 460 to 460 something 2 range or something. But MERS is in a whole different bandwidth of frequencies. There's only 5 channels with MERS, but they are so different that they hardly get used in the outdoor environment, like when you're camping or having outdoor activities or whatever you're doing, and you're just doing regular walkie-talkie. You're probably not going to have people talking on MERS in those situations, because MERS usually is used in commercial businesses and stuff. MERS can be a little bit more powerful, and because it's on I think a lower band, it can penetrate through walls better and that kind of thing, but there's not as many channels. So look into MERS if you want to learn more about them. Now, what ended up, as much as I love the railroad hobby and wanted to buy this for that, I end up not buying it because at first, until I wanted to get the racing channels. So if we turn off 9 and we want to service search for channel 10, which is 0 on the keypad, this is the racing channel. Since I'm not at a racing track right now, I'm not picking up anything. Here's the beauty of this. If you just got this radio for racing, and you don't know about all these other functions, you don't need to know anything else. Let's turn that off. When you turn this scanner on, let's go to, and it looks like this, and you just want to do racing, you do functions, service search, and you turn off all the other channels and only turn on channel 10, and it will search through the racing addresses. Now, hopefully this has made this radio very useful to you. At home, I'm not at the racetrack, I'm not at the marina, I'm not at the airport. Maybe I want to search for police bands. That's interesting. I'm not one to do that, but some people may, a lot of people like to search for police bands. This is not a digital radio. I think a lot of police are going to digital, so only if your local police are on analog will you pick up that. Same thing with the fire and emergency. So, if I press 1 for police and 2 for fire and emergency, I don't know if my local police use analog stuff, so you may never get any of that. But one thing I do like at home that I am able to pick up is I'm able to pick up ham radio. Now, ham radio is those amateur hobbyists that have a license to transmit freely on the frequencies, and with higher power, they can go up to, you know, beyond the limitations of the 5 watts, and go up to, you know, 20 watts, and get longer ranges, and use repeaters, and get themselves to far distances using repeaters, or the pinging off a tower and repeating the signal down further out to somebody else. I don't know much about that. If anybody is an expert in this stuff and wants to talk to all the mistakes I'm saying, fine. But I like to keep all the service searches off except for at home. At home, I'm able to listen to some people that are talking on ham. The first day I got this, the first thing I was able to do was pick up somebody's conversation on ham. Also, you may want to turn on CB radio. That was something else. Even from my house, even though I'm not that close to a highway, there were some people talking on CB radio, and I was able to pick it up. So here I got bank or address, in a sense, we can call it address book, or bank 3, and the service search is ham radio, and then bank 8 is CB radio. And then, just in case there's somebody out walking around my house, walking a dog, talking to somebody on a walkie-talkie, I'll turn on 9. So if I turn on 3, 8, and 9, it'll search through all of those. Now let's turn the radio off, and I'm at home, and next time I want to listen to that stuff, I turn the radio back on, and it'll automatically come to the ham radio and start that. Now this is very useful to me. It's not a mystery. I don't have an open phone book anymore. Now I'm listening to ham, and once it gets through scanning ham, of course I get it moving on. And once it's hearing something. So if you hit function and then click, you go to squelch. Oh, I think I turned the sound down, didn't I? I'm going to turn that off by clicking again, and I'm just going to click without function, and that turns the volume on. I forgot I turned the volume off. But now this radio is useful to me. And if it gets stuck at static, you can just click the scroll and keep on scrolling. And then it goes over to CB, didn't find anything, and went over to FRS, GMRS, the walkie-talkie stuff, and went back to ham. And of course, at any point, now you know how to use the address books and the weather. Well, while we're here, once you get a signal and you want to save that, you searched out and you found the signal and you want to save it to your own personal address book, you can take this right now and hit function program, and it says save frequency 162.55.00, which happens to be my weather channel. And I can save it to my own personal address book and tell it to be channel 3. Now, if I don't want it to be channel 3, I can say channel 4. And then say whatever channel you want. And so I'm going to go ahead and say yes by pressing the enter button here, or you can click yes by hitting that. And it's already entered that frequency into channel 4. Or you can dial in any frequency you know. If you looked up a frequency online and you want to say, okay, I want 460.55, and then hit enter, it just saved that frequency. So as you can see, it just turned it to 460 for channel 4. Oh, maybe it was not a legitimate 461 point. Whoops. Clear it. It won't let you enter something that's not legitimate. Out of band. So you hit double clear. And if you ever get stuck, my out of jail free card is the scan button, takes you out. But you have to be in a hold mode. So we're scanning we're scanning our personal address book right now, and I don't have anything in address book 4, and that's why 4 is flashing. And that's why it's locked. If you don't have anything at all of yours would be locked. So next thing is, how do I enter a frequency into a particular bank? Well, my 4 is locked, but number 1, I have frequencies in my address book, and they are specific to race car driver frequencies. So if I hit hold, it held where the frequency it was closest to during the scan, which is channel number 9, and it's the frequency for NASCAR for Chase Elliott. So not only was I able to assign the frequency a channel number, remember channel numbers for FRS are fixed and GMRS are fixed, but channel numbers for your own personal use, you can assign it any channel number you want for these frequencies that you find. So I like to use the race car driver's car number as the channel number. So channel 8 is for the race car number 8, which is Kyle Busch, and that's his frequency. And then I hadn't put anything in for 4 or 5. Well, I just put in this channel 4 when I was demonstrating a moment ago. That's not a race car number, so I want to delete it. So the way to delete it is you function program, and you go down here to scroll it with this and delete channel, and then you hit enter and you say yes, and the channel is deleted and you can back out. Remember, hitting enter and pushing the scroll both do the same thing. And I don't have anybody. It's a blank frequency for channel 3. I didn't put car number 3 in yet, but I did put in a false number here for channel 2 for demonstration purposes, and so that's not a car number. But once again, function program, delete channel, yes, that channel is deleted, back out, and then channel 1 is car number 1 is Ross Chastain. So I have here a bunch of frequencies I got off the internet, and I want to put in a channel, a race car driver. William Byron, I already got him in on channel 24, but it turns out that channel 23 for car number 23 would be Bubba Wallace. So how do I put his number in, his frequency in? So his frequency, since it's on hold, when I push the keypad, it will start putting the frequency in. 463.0875. Enter. Whoop. Enter. And now channel 23 is Bubba Wallace's frequency. He also has a tone, so nobody's going to interrupt. I can't transmit to that frequency because unless I know his tone, but I could put his tone in. So if I want to put his tone in, I'm going to say for channel 23, set CTCSS/DCS. Those are the acronyms I didn't know before. But those are the tones. So I want to set the tone. And I want to turn it on. I want it CTS. And actually, I don't want it. Do I want CTS? No. I want to back up. I want it DCS. And then I'm going to go using this, scroll all the way up to 4. And I'm not even sure I'm doing this correctly, so I guess I'll find out when I get to the racetrack. 466. So now I got his tone. And then I could exit out. So there you have it. Now, but I don't know who car 23 is. Well, I know it's Bubba Wallace, but hey, maybe you don't know that. So let's go ahead and function program for this channel, the channel I'm on, channel 23. When I hit function program, it is thinking it's channel 23. So I already entered the frequency, but now I enter his name. So enter tag, and then you start scrolling. And then the advance button here, number 6 has a little arrow to advance. And then you're going to go, now I got to go all the way down to A, advance. And now I got Wallace in there. And that's it. And now channel 23 also has his name. Because there's 40 some race cars and they run up to numbers 99. The card numbers go up to 99. I'm using bank 1. Bank 1 is a page of frequencies, and it can hold up to 50 numbers. And bank 2 is a page of frequency, and it holds from 51 to 100. So 1 to 50 is bank 1, and 51 to 100 is bank 2. So I've reserved bank channels 1 to 100 for race cars drivers, which means I'm only using bank 3, 4, 5 and on up for other channels that I may want to personally put in at my own personal address books. So I think that's about everything I want to go into. There are other topics of discussion that you can get more advanced with. But if nothing else, you now know if I want to get out of this completely, hit the scan button and it'll scan bank 1, which is my own personal thing. I'm not at the racetrack. I turn that off. And you now know how to make use of this radio. Right out of the box, you want weather? Function weather. Scan weather. You want railroad service function? Whoops. Bank 5. Whoop. I'm not in service, I'm in regular search. Regular search is going to search the whole phone book unless you turn it off. So I'm turning these things off, see? Turn it all off. Until you know what you're doing with frequencies, you're gonna end up just not using the search function, but you want to use service search, SVC, and then if I want railroads, I'll turn everything else off and just turn on the railroad. Right? You guys got it. Hopefully this helped, and now you know how to make this scanner useful. How to use the address books, which is called service search, how to use the scan function, after you made your own personal address book by entering in your own personal addresses or your own personal frequencies and assigned them alpha tags and channel numbers. Okay. Anybody that knows something I don't know and needs to correct my beginner's mistakes, go ahead and comment below. Of course, if you like this video, you can comment below and let me know that it's been helpful to you. That's all I ever ask. And until next time, enjoy your hobby.